Chris Control. We are live from the 704 once again for episode 116 of the A15 Exchange. And well, I survived homecoming weekend. I survived the symbiote, which, you know what, let's knock that out right off the bat here in this intro. As always, everything you're looking for can be found in the description. So if you follow me on my social medias, whether that's IG, especially IG, Snapchat, not so much, and most definitely Twitter, then you know I was on a different timing this weekend. If you were one of my friends watching this, you know I was on a different timing this weekend, alright? A different timing. If you saw me on Friday and Saturday, after the sun went down, that may or may not have been me. That's all I'm going to say. But, with that said, welcome back. I survived homecoming weekend. I survived revenge weekend. But you know, some of the people dearest to my heart did not. Coach Will Healy didn't survive revenge weekend or Hoco weekend. The New York Yankees' integrity and us, chances of winning the World Series, which, let's be real, have been dead for about 4 months. That also did not survive homecoming weekend, revenge weekend. A lot of things did not survive. But you know what? We are still here. We are here on a Monday. Unfortunately, I know it's been a little bit of hiatus for those of you that are here for the reaction videos. We will be back this week. I promise. Last week was a madness. This week is also still a little bit of a madness, but we're gonna train it out. Got a lot, so yeah, if there's any music you want me to react to, just you can comment that below here on A15. But yeah, as always, you know what it is. Timestamp description. Said that's in the bio. Yeah, that's in the description. I definitely botched that just now, but remember to like, share, and subscribe if you guys are enjoying the content. As always, it is much appreciated. Again, like I said, and like I've been saying, we are on the road to 800, not too far off now. So yeah, let's keep that push going. Because of course, as you know, I'm Ocho. 8 is my favorite number, so 800 would be very, very poetic. But yeah, without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, let's get straight to it. No need to waste any more time. We're going to the land of college football yet again. Now, while I had to spend my dearest time at this one particular game, I did not stay the whole time, alright? In this game, I sacrificed a lot for it, but it was homecoming, and it's my last homecoming as a student here at Charlotte, so I had to be great. I had to. Even though I missed UFC 280, or at least watching it live, even though I watched a pretty solid, even though it wasn't really last week, if I'm being honest, this week's of college football, because, USC didn't play, and, there were some ranked games, there were some good games, but it wasn't, as crazy as you've seen in the past couple weeks, to be completely honest. I still showed up. I still showed up for my dear Charlotte 49ers. But you know who forgot to show up on homecoming? The Charlotte 49ers forgot to show up on homecoming because historically, not just me talking crap, respectfully, historically, the worst team in the Conference USA has been one Florida International University. In fact, going into this game, they were 2-4, which was only one more win than the great Charlotte 49ers. But that did not matter as they went up, I think, 21-0 to start the game. Will Healy was getting fire. Will Healy chants 6 minutes in the game after it started 14-0. It was just a disaster class, okay? It was an absolute disaster class. CR3 threw 3 picks. However, for FIU, Chambers was, we made him look like he was an NFL receiver, and you know what? Maybe he is. 10 receptions, 143 for Agent Zero. James, the QB, we had 359 and 3 touchdowns. Peterson Jr. went crazy defensively, 3 sacks. We have a very, very weak offensive line. It is what it is. He had a career day. Charlotte, we are the worst team in FBS. There might be a team that is might be winners. I don't know for sure. Don't quote me on that. But we are the worst team in the FBS. 100%, no doubt in my mind. I do not think that, even though I guess we beat Georgia State, we are the worst team in the FBS. Losing to us this season should be a fireable offense, respectfully. The offense can be very, very explosive, but also you can have what we saw in this game, and it's just nothing. Turnovers galore. CR3 getting pressured nonstop. just mistakes. Mistake after mistake after mistake. And the defense sucks. We have the worst defense in FBS. The worst. The absolute worst. We can't cover. The defensive, I don't know who our defensive coordinator is because I don't even want to know his name. I have intentionally dodged his name because I don't even feel like he deserves to be mentioned on this show for me to rip into him. That is how much disdain I have for him. I am sitting here from the crowd calling a better game. They ran about 25 out routes before I left at the beginning of the fourth quarter, and I believe they completed around 22 or 23 of them. Just consistently, every possession, out route, going multiple distances. Not once did we drop anybody in the flats. Not once did we drop into a zone. We're not getting any pressure. We don't pressure the quarterback. You can sacrifice those linebackers to push them in coverage. I mean, I'm sick and tired of this team. If it wasn't my last year, I'd be highly considering not going into some of the rest of the games. The program is just in shambles. But Willie Lee, of course, gets fired after this game. It was a long time coming. Coach Healy is a great guy. He's a great guy. Club Lit was fun. That 1 year, my freshman year, by the way, which we made the bowl game, Bahamas Bowl. Played Jared Patterson in Buffalo. Patterson was a stud back then. That was great. That was fun. It was beautiful. It gave me hope. It looked like we had hope at that point in time, but it just we never ever turned that corner. And then COVID happened, and I don't know if that's what it was or what it was, and we just never got the talent back, but it never was the same, and it's disappointing because he went from a guy that was considered one of the best young coaches in the sport potentially to now he's out of the job, probably going back to FCS, I would assume, or some type of coordinator job if anybody wants to take him, even though he's not really an X and O's guy. So, yeah, it's just been a season of disappointment, but I expect nothing less from this year's edition of the Charlotte 49ers. We get railed by the Florida International Panthers at homecoming. However, I left early and went over to the tailgate, the D9 tailgate, and had the time of my life, so still good homecoming. Now, Ohio State took on Iowa. Now, I said we are the worst team. I said Charlotte is the worst team in the FBS. We have the worst defense in the FBS. But the worst offense in the FBS absolutely positively has to be the Iowa Hawkeyes. I do not know how Brian Ferentz, besides purely his last name and his relation to his head coach, I don't know how he has a job, because he has to be. If we have the worst defensive coordinator, Iowa has the worst offensive coordinator. Because, my goodness, it's just another disaster class. Now, to be fair, you're playing the team that should probably be the number one team in the nation in Ohio State. But my God, Iowa is pitiful. Petrus, I don't even need to say it again. Bad yet again. C.J. Stroud goes 286 and 4 touchdowns, and it wasn't even his cleanest game. The Iowa defense played fine in this game. They only gave up around 20-something points. The Iowa offense was so bad, they gave up, I think it said 33 points, I read. How does that happen? How does that happen? Stroud, again, 286, 4 touchdowns. He did his thing, leading the Heisman candidacy. I think leading everybody in passing touchdowns as well. Julian Fleming, 2 receptions, 105, and a touchdown. Of course, Emeka and Marv also got in the end zone. You know what this is. It's the best receiving corps in America. A bunch of first-round receivers on that Ohio State team. But yeah, Iowa. I don't understand how you were it's that incompetent. It's disgusting. It's just absolutely disgusting at this point. But anyways, OSU gets the win. Clemson and Syracuse. Very controversial. This is low-key becoming a rivalry game in the ACC as we know it. Something about these two teams, I don't know if it's the orange or what it is, but these teams are always just kind of going at it. Once again, we had another fantastic Clemson-Syracuse game because they always seem to deliver that as well. However, Syracuse fell for the trap, established Clemson quarterback that's, got a lot of controversy surrounding his play. Plays horribly against them and then gets replaced by the 5-star number 1 quarterback in his class. And, of course, he leads them to victory. It happened yet again. Even though the refs were god-awful in this game, and Clemson may or may not have gotten bailed out a little bit, Cade Klubnik came in, got the job done. However, Will Shipley is that guy. We've said it before. I'll say it again. Will Shipley is that guy. 189 total, 2 touchdowns for Ship. Maffa, 94 yards as well rushing. Tyler Davis had 2 sacks. Garrett Schrader, 238 and 2 touchdowns for Syracuse. However, Clemson wins a narrow win, and the ACC's playoff hopes remain stable. LSU upsets Ole Miss because, of course, once again, just like Clemson somehow pulling out a backup quarterback with 5 stars to beat a good Syracuse team, LSU is going to upset a good Ole Miss team if they're heading into Death Valley. And Jalen Daniels, for the first time since he was at Arizona State, looks like the quarterback we once upon a time thought he was going to be. The man had 369 and 5 touchdowns. It looked like freshman year Jalen Daniels. It looked like, okay, this might be a first rounder in 3 years, Jalen Daniels. For the first time in forever. And by the way, even though a lot of people had a lot of things to say about that LSU program, they're 6-2, I believe. Or, yeah, 6-2. They're 6-2. Brian Kelly's not doing that bad. I think, he's not doing that bad here in year 1. 6-2 should be ranked if they're not already ranked in the new A people. I think they are, actually. I didn't get to check it out because I was so busy yesterday. But shout out to Brian Kelly, shout out to LSU. Daniels went off. 21 for 28 as well. Judkins for Ole Miss, he showed up. 111, 2 touchdowns. He's been a great running back for them. However, it just wasn't enough. Ole Miss upset Oregon. Oregon takes out UCLA 45-30 in a competition between 2 of my least favorite Pac-12 teams. Bo Nix, 22 for 28, 334 and 5 touchdowns. Yes, you heard that correct. 22 for 28, 334 and 5 touchdowns for Bo Nix. He is having fun. This looks like it's the year Bo Nix is turning the corner. And I don't say that ironically anymore. He actually looks like he might be turning the corner. Dan Lanning actually looks like he might be the head coach that this Oregon team needed to break through. And also, what a testament that first week win for Ohio State over Oregon is looking like right now. My goodness, because Oregon has been on a streak since then, and they've looked good. Bo Nix playing the best football of his life right now. Troy Franklin has stepped up and emerging as that number 1 receiver that the Oregon team kind of needed, especially with the departure of Micah Pittman. 8 receptions, 132 and 2 touchdowns for Frank. Yeah, he's a beast. DTR still had 262 and 2 touchdowns. Zach Charbonnet had 151. Bobo had 8 receptions, 101 and a touchdown. But Oregon, like I said, UCLA had no way to stop Bo Nix. He took over this game. Him and Troy Franklin were dynamic. It was like Brady and Moss out there. Could not be stopped. And Oregon looking very, very scary. Oklahoma State takes out Texas. Now it is October. It's the end of October, so it's prime spooky hours, and it got real spooky for Texas. Riding the wave of the success, winning Red River, looking good, everything's been great. As you know, this year in college football, it seems like every week that one of the elite quarterbacks in the country decides to just, have an off game. This was Quinn Ewers' off game, and boy was he off. Detrimental to the team off. The man had 30 incompletions, went 19 for 49. I don't know why when you have Bijan Robinson, you throw it 49 times in the first place, but I digress. 19 for 49, 3 interceptions. Bijan couldn't be stopped. He had 181 and 2 touchdowns. But ultimately, it did not matter because Spencer Sanders, once again, did Spencer Sanders things. One of the most, he's an Oklahoma State legend, surely, at this point. 434 and 2 touchdowns for Spence. Richardson had a hat trick with only having 20-something yards. Green, 5 receptions, 133 and a touchdown. Go Pokes. What more is there to say? What more is there to say? Spencer Sanders did his thing. Quinn Ewers was not Quinn Ewers. Sark did not run the ball with Bijan when that was working for whatever reason. And they paid for it. Simple as that. Oklahoma State gets the win. Bama takes out Mississippi State 30-6. Bama fans were calling for Bill O'Brien Ted after this one. Bryce Young still had 249 and 3 touchdowns, but even though this looks like a blowout, and it was a blowout on paper, this was not the finest game for the Crimson Tide at all. But they do get the win and still remain probably atop of the polls. And to end off here, TCU takes out Kansas State 38-28. Of course, we're not talking about that boy Max Dugan, 280 and 3 touchdowns. He's been phenomenal this year. And of course, Keandre Miller with 253 yards total and 2 touchdowns, I believe. Dugan and Miller have been one of the best quarterback and running back combinations in college football this year. Once again, Sonny Dykes is getting it done at Texas Christian University, and TCU continues to rise up the polls, continues to look better, continues to win these major games against ranked opponents, by the way. Not like they're not playing comp. They're playing comp and they're getting it done. So, TCU, in my opinion, one of the most impressive teams this year. Dugan and Miller have been fantastic, and that was college football for the week. Now, we got the UFC, ladies and gentlemen. We do have the UFC. Like I said, UFC 280 was this past weekend. Highly anticipated Dubai card because of a couple different very intriguing fights which we recapped last week. And let's talk about them, shall we? Islam Makhachev. Yeah. Boy, Dagestan runs the lightweight division. That's all I need to say. Dagestan runs 155. They run it. They own it. It's theirs. They run that division. Because I think we have yet another Dagestani prodigy that's going to run this division for a while after Islam submitted the greatest submission specialist in the history of the UFC and one of the best in MMA ever in Charlie Olive's. Islam is a different breed. It's exactly what we thought. It's exactly what we thought. Let's be honest. It's exactly what we thought. He's exactly the problem that we thought he was. He's the boogeyman. I think everybody knew it. It's why nobody wants to fight him. However, Charlie Olive didn't even really want to fight him. Let's keep it real. But Islam he's just a monster. He's so ridiculously strong. His back muscles, the way that he's the reincarnate. All right, he's the reincarnate. I was in disbelief when I got the notification before I even watched to see what happened. When I got the notification, I was in disbelief, but I was also like, you know what? Makes sense. Of course, he would sub, just like he said he wanted to. Subbed Olives in round 2. Islam is a monster. Welcome to your new 155 overlord. Aljo takes out TJ. Now, Aljo just can't have a normal. I don't know why. He just cannot have a normal rivalry. I don't know why. I don't know why he was champion. It can't be normal. So in this one, TJ hurts his shoulder. Apparently he dislocated his shoulder 20 times in training, which if you do it that many times in training, why are you fighting? I don't know, but his career might be finished. I'm going to be completely honest. Aljo, of course, does what any champion and what any guy fighting for the championship or what any fighter really should do. Takes advantage of that and beats TJ to a pulp and gets the round 2 TKO. TJ is a fool for not calling the fight off and letting his pride get in the way, or I don't know what it was, but that just was never going to work out. Put some respect on Aljo. Put some respect on his name, though. He's real. It's going to be interesting to see where that division goes next because of the fight that happened before this. Now, I said Peter Yan was going to demolish Suga Sean O'Malley, and I like Suga. I like Suga. I said I think he's going to be a future champion potentially one day. Well, he shut up everybody. He shut up everybody with his performance, and what I believe got fight of the night as well. Between Peter Yan and Suga Sean O'Malley. What a war. They were going back and forth. Sugar gets the split decision and a little bit of, I'm not going to say a little bit, it was controversial. Let's be real. It was controversy, all right? And controversial faction gets the split decision over Peter Yan. Some felt Yan won. Some felt, O'Malley won. I need to rewatch the fight to, truly give my true opinion. But statistically, I can see an argument for both. I can honestly see an argument for both, just looking at the numbers, which is what I had at play. But yeah, what I do know for a fact is that Sean proved that he's amongst the elite in the bantamweight division and proved that he belonged, and he showed that, he's not, he's here to stay. He's here to stay. The hype was warranted. This is a guy that's going to be a factor. Now, do you feed him to Aljo? I don't know. I don't know if he gets a title shot after this. Maybe you run it back versus Cheeto. That could be interesting. For Jan, I don't really want to give him I don't want to punish him for the loss, so to speak. So I don't know if it's maybe Sandhagen or whoever, but I still think he should be fighting amongst the top contenders. Because it doesn't really feel like a loss, even though it's a loss in the scorecards. A lot of people thought he won the fight. So a fight where both men's stock, raised, or at least, one of them raised dramatically and one of them stayed the same. But yeah, that division, just a bunch of killers, and Sean O'Malley, shouts to the Suga Show for backing up all the talk, all the hype. He went in, he showed up, he hurt Peter Yan like we've never seen Peter Yan get hurt before. Incredible fight. If you can rewatch it, I'm going to go ahead and rewatch it because it was a treat. Benil Ud's Gamrot to go around the rest of the card. So yeah, huge win for Benil Narush, getting back in the win column and just kind of trying to improve his prospectus. But yeah, a lot of people were very high on Gamrot. Of course, Khabib was talking about in the UFC Embedded was hyping up Gamrot as, potential guy. Benil handled that with business. Ud, pretty decisive win there. Bilal gets the second round KO against Sean Brady, two guys that were streaking, but Bilal once again makes a statement that, he might be a little bit of a factor in that division, He's no longer that mid-round gatekeeper. Nah, we need to have a serious conversation about Bilal possibly taking on some higher ranked, contenders in that welterweight division and seeing how he fares against them. I think he's earned it with his TKO win and a dominant win for Sean Brady, who was fighting very, very well and at a very, very high level going into this fight. But yeah, Bilal seemingly has made that jump and he's gone to that next level. But yeah, Dubai card, very, very good. I think it lived up to the hype. Islam is a monster. Aljo did what Aljo does, and Suga Sean and Yan put on a show. So yeah, we'll see. But it was good to have the UFC back. Good to have another major event. Now, of course, that brings us to the entertainment segments, and that brings us to House of the Dragon. Now, you may or may not have noticed, I did not come out and just say that it was the best show on television. Shocker. It was a pretty good episode. It was not my favorite episode because of certain things that happened, alright? Because it could have been better. I understand why they did something. Some of them I don't understand, but it could have been better. It should have been better than it was. And some things kind of came off a little wrong. Now, let's talk about what happened in the end. Okay, first off, that whole... One of the biggest events in the Dance of Dragons is Storm's End, which happened as I expected in the finale of this week's episode. But in the finale, the last scene of course, Vader killing Arax and Luke. Big, massive, thing that has been hyped to no end, even by myself. And the way it was shot, the scale of it was perfect. The rain, I love the way Storm's End looked. Boris was great, but Eamon looked so... I feel like they sacrificed a bit of his character to try to add some nuance to him. And I understand that because it makes him come off as less cruel. But the problem is they're going to have to make significant changes going forward in the narrative in terms of what he does for one of the later events that happens for it to have any of the weight that it is supposed to have. And also just for him to kind of play this parallel to Damon, he has to do a lot to be seen. Because right now he just looks similar to Aegon. He's just a pitiful child who cannot control, cannot make his own decisions. It was all a facade. He doesn't look like a worthy adversary to Damon. In fact, besides the fact that they have more men, there is nothing on the green side that makes them look like they're worthy adversaries to the Blacks right now. They don't have anybody that is any type of intimidating. They have Vader, the greatest and most deadly dragon, which, it's a hell of a threat. But that is the only threat they have right now. That's it. That is it. There is no reason if I was a purely show watcher, I would think that the Blacks don't just destroy them. They have the dragons. They have the better warriors. They have the better leaders. Now they have the season. There is no reason I should expect the Greens to put up any type of a fight. They have Kristen. Kristen is far and away the best they got right now. Kristen and Vader versus Damon, Corley's, all these veterans of war and ruthless, because they made Aemon a non-factor. So that didn't really sit right with me. Otherwise, the scene was, I mean, the Sapphire reveal was perfect. Most of it was done well, but taking away him being provoked by the daughter, taking away his, autonomy over making the choice, even though it plays back into what Viserys said, they don't really control the dragons, like he said earlier in the season. It's just, it could have been better. It could have been better. Rhaenyra and Daemon were fine, honestly. I saw some people saying I did not really feel that. Of course, I would not want to watch the show if I was a pregnant woman, because there have been an obscene amount of bad pregnancies in this show. But yeah, Daemon and Rhaenyra's characterizations were pretty much spot on. I was fine with that. Cowgirl Bull has now passed Daemon Bull hype for me. So can't wait to see the brothers eventually tussle, surely. And but I mean, overall, of course, I'll be back for season 2. Cregan Stark hype. Getting to see Jason Cregan should be fun in the north. And but I'm very interested to see, because this is very, very different from what I was expecting. So I'm interested to see where the narrative goes, because they made a lot of changes. And I don't know if I agree with all of them. But overall, still, it was good to have the Thrones universe back, and it's going to be a very, very long hiatus. It's going to feel a little empty without him. Chainsaw Man, episode 2. Denji is still him. He is down horrendous. Oh my goodness, I have never seen a character so down bad in my life. The man is down atrocious for Makima. Down atrocious. He literally barked for her. I have never seen anything like that in my life. Down horrendous. Down horrendous, but Chainsaw Man has been very, very entertaining. I'm in. Getting to see the rest of the Devil Hunters. We got to see Power, who was, a fiend, which is a, devil that's taken over a corpse, right? Power's a fiend, but she works with the Devil Hunters. She looks like she's going to be a big ball of chaos and a whole lot of fun. Aki, kind of playing, a little, playing a little bit harder, playing the bad cop. So I guess Makima's manipulative good cop. But seeing his relationship kind of, transform with Denji and seeing how that played out was also very entertaining. But yeah, Chainsaw Man, it's been very, very entertaining so far. Can't wait for episode 3. Probably my favorite show of the week, which is incredible to do with House of the Dragon one, but probably my favorite episode of television, even though I'm watching Cobra Kai right now, and that's been heat, so I don't know, maybe, but Chainsaw Man episode 2 was great, very, very entertaining show. In music, Taylor Swift dropped, so y'all can let me know how that was. I heard it was very, very good. Hershey's might even be Drake's 9 out of 10. She might do 10 out of 10 on Billboard, which would be insane. But yeah, shout out to T Swift. But DJ Drama is the hardest working man. Has to be the hardest working man in the game. He dropped 3 Gangsta Grills albums in this week. And I only remembered Youngboy and Jeezy. So I don't even remember what the other one was, but DJ Drama, Big Gangsta Grills, I heard they were all, I think he hit on every single one as well. So shout out to DJ Drama, because he's been putting in work. A little bit of a career renaissance. Not that he ever fell off, but a little bit of a career renaissance in these last 2 years. Call Me If You Get Lost with Tyler, and now what he's been doing lately. Drama's been on fire. He keeps his hot streak going. Also, Her Loss next week. Drake 21 collab album. Of course, we will be listening to that just in time for spooky season, Halloween. Also, it's Drake's birthday, so happy birthday to the 6th God. Now, with that said, ladies and gentlemen, that of course brings us to the MLB. And before we get to my heartbreak, let's talk about San Diego's heartbreak. Even though they'll probably still feel overall satisfied with the way the season went, with everything that happened. They'll probably be satisfied, but my oh my, is it the glory of the Philadelphia Phillies. I want the Phillies to win the World Series. I am in. After watching everything they've been through as a franchise and watching the way that city comes alive when they have a good team, you get entrapped by it. And I got entrapped by this Phillies team, especially in this past game. Phillies get the win 4-3 and win the series 3-1. Bryce Harper is exactly who we thought Bryce Harper was. Once upon a time, not long ago, even slightly before Mike Trout became the once-in-a-generation player, Bryce Harper was the generational talent. Bryce Harper was the one that was called the LeBron James of baseball. He was the one on the cover of Sports Illustrated at 16. And early on in his career, it looked like Bryce was going to live up to the hype. It was going to be Trout and Harper. That was the next era of baseball. They were going to rule. They were going to battle. It was going to be this great rivalry that leads baseball into that next sector and into this next generation. And while Trout continued his brilliance, even though he had absolutely no playoff success because the Angels are a terrible poverty franchise, Bryce had to deal with injuries. He won the MVP and then he got hurt. And then he got hurt again. And then he got hurt again. And then he came back and he wasn't the same. And then he got hurt again. And then he left. And he got paid all the money in the world to go play for Philly. And a lot of people question that. A lot of people question Philly paying Bryce Harper the money that they paid him. There will be no more of those questions after these past 2 seasons. There will be none. He has fulfilled that contract, and he has fulfilled his destiny of being the Bryce Harper, the generational talent, the superstar that we believe Bryce Harper to be. He has fulfilled that, and now he will do it in more. MVP last year in this series, MVP Bryce Harper returned, and he might have won had he not got hurt. MVP again this year. Bryce Harper is undoubtedly one of the best players in baseball. Undoubtedly. He hit over 400 in this series. He currently is tied for the MLB League overall in the playoffs and home runs. He's the overall leader in hits. Bryce Harper has been fantastic. He has been the Bryce Harper we believed him to be. I have to also give an honorable mention to Rhys Hoskins because he's also been balling out. But Bryce, fantastic. Phillies up good. San Diego, not the way you wanted to go out, but you know what? Y'all had a solid run. Hopefully, we'll see what Tatis is next year. But overall, I think y'all heading in the right direction. Phillies, go get it done because you're facing a team that we just cannot beat. And we got swept. They broke up the broomsticks against us, and that is the Houston Astros. The rookie, Jeremy Pena, wins ALCS MVP. Well-deserved. He dominated. We were pitiful. Judge was pitiful as much as I love him. The offense was pitiful. The pitchers just, unfortunately, just could not get it done, even though it's not fully on them. We just weren't good enough. Just the same way we weren't good enough the second half of the season, we were not good enough. We were not on the Astros level, and we got embarrassed. There is no amount of cheating scandal or whatever we want to say. There is nothing to be said. We just aren't on their level. And that probably hurts a lot of ego, a lot of Yankees fans' ego. And it hurts my ego maybe even just a little bit. But it's the truth. It's the truth. We are not the same franchise as the Houston Astros. They have swept us in the series. They've beaten us 4 times. 4 times in this era. Every time we make a run, we run into Houston. We just cannot. We fold. Coach 30 should do a video on this. Every time we play the Astros, pissed down the leg, not an athlete, moment got too big. And that's what happened. The moment got too big for the Yankees. Incredible to say about the team with more success than anybody in MLB history, but the moment got too big for this year's Yankees, and they folded. And the Astros, been here, done that, did it again. They have to, like I said last week, be the World Series favorite going into the Phillies. Of course, the sentimental value, I'll be rooting for the Phillies, but you know what? Houston, they've done a great job. Dusty's done a great job. They're a terrific franchise. What more is there can I say? What more can I say? Changes need to be made with the Yankees. Cashman has to answer for his crimes. All right, ladies and gentlemen, this now brings us, of course, to the NFL. And on Thursday, we've had a series of Thursday night games that have been absolutely garbage, awful, crimes against the sport of football. It's been the worst game of the week every week. However, ladies and gentlemen, we actually finally had a competitive, entertaining Thursday night game. I know it's a Christmas miracle, but you know what? What have I said about the Saints this year? Every single game they've played has been a banger. Well, they had another banger, all right? The Cardinals played their foe in this one, and however, the Cardinals got the win. So, sorry, Saints, you're 2-5, and that whole division is garbage, by the way. The NFC South is dreadful. The way I was talking about the NFC East, I need to talk about the NFC South. It is dreadful. Absolutely dreadful. But yeah, the Cardinals take out the Saints 42-34. Despite the Cardinals' best wishes of trying to hand the Saints the game late, managed to get the win. Kingsbury and of course Kyler went back and forth for going at it a little bit. There was a big, it was a hot topic of discussion this past week on talk shows. However, it is what it is. Like I said, I don't think Kingsbury's making it through the season anyway. But the Cardinals get a much needed win. Murray was 20 for 29, 204 and a touchdown for K1. Eno Benjamin had 92 yards and a touchdown. And had 26 fantasy points on my bench. So that was absolutely fantastic. However, big reason why the Saints lost this one, gotta be honest, Andy Dalton. 361 and 4 touchdowns might make you say, oh yeah, the Red Rocket is back. But oh no, 3 picks in the first half will, kill you. And it killed the Saints in this one, including 2 pick sixes, I believe, if I'm correct, or at least one of them. Let me check that, actually. I believe it was 2 pick sixes, yeah. 2 pick sixes, where is it? Yeah, 2 pick sixes in the first half, one by Zay, one by Marco Wilson, so yeah. Red Rocket had the best and the worst of times. The Cardinals got the offensive production. Defense made plays. They won I can't believe I'm saying that, a hell of a Thursday night game. The Bengals take out the Falcons. You remember how we were worried about Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase and the Bengals earlier this year? I'm not so worried anymore. They beat them. 35-17. It didn't feel that. It really didn't feel that close. Cincinnati was up 21-0 at one point in time. Before the Falcons finally got on the board here in the second quarter. Jamar Chase went to a different plane. Tyler Boyd also went to a different plane. Burrow had the best game of the season for himself. 34 for 42, 41, and 3 touchdowns. Boyd had 8 receptions, 155, and a touchdown. Jamar Chase had 8 receptions, 130, and 2 touchdowns. It was brilliant, all right? Simply put, the Bengals, masterclass, the Falcons, just wasn't the best of times, though that secondary was getting torched. It was like Shaquille Griffin last week, but, just getting absolutely torched. The Bengals starting to get back to the Bengals that we saw last season. Cowboys take out the Lions 24-6. So Dak Prescott makes his grand return this week. Had to knock off the rust a little bit, looked a little bit rusty, even though he still had 19 for 25, 207, and a touchdown. So overall, can't complain, did what he did. Lions, I know they'll complain about the refs, but I think the bigger problem is that you turn the ball over 4 from fumbles, and he threw 2 picks. So when you turn the ball over 6 times, that's going to be an issue. That is going to be an issue. And I think that is what undid you more than the refs. That's just my personal opinion. But, the Lions got to be one of the greatest 1-5 teams I've ever seen in my life. But you know what? They're in contention for the Bryce or CJ or maybe even Hendon Hooker sweepstakes. So congrats, Lions. You get a real quarterback next year. But the Cowboys roll. Colts take the L yet again to the Titans this time. Tannehill got hurt, but King Henry has been King Henry. And quietly might be leading the league in rushing at this point. 128 for King Henry. In the Titans defense, another great defense creates a lot of turnovers this week. Another great defensive performance, and what I'm starting to see is a week of great defensive performances, perhaps by the Titans defense. They picked Matt Ryan off twice, and the Titans get the job done. They are 4-2, by the way. The Commanders take out the Packers. The Packers suck. All right, I'm going to talk about 2 of the greatest quarterbacks in the history of the league, and I'm not going to be very positive about their teams. One is here, the other is a little bit later against the Panthers, and we'll talk about that and what the Panthers did this week as well. But the Packers suck. All right, brutally, they suck. They're garbage. Bad. Commanders beat them 23-21. Aaron Jones. Don't know why he only had 8 carries in this game. I do not understand the fixation that LaFleur has with not giving Aaron Jones the ball. He should be getting 20 touches minimum. I don't care if it can be rushing and receiving. I'm not saying he has to get 20 carries. 20 touches minimum. He is your best offensive player besides Aaron Rodgers. He's a very, very, very good running back. Use him. When you use him, good things happen. For whatever reason, you refuse to use him, and you continue to pay the price. Aaron Rodgers under 200 yards in this game. They had 38 rushing yards. So just a terrific rushing day for the Packers. Terrific rushing day. 12 carries, 38 yards. Absolutely pitiful. Jones got it done receiving. 9 receptions, 53 and 2 touchdowns. But ultimately, it didn't matter. It didn't matter. Commanders get the win. Like I said, Taylor Heinicke has to be one of the best backup quarterbacks. I felt more comfortable with Heinicke and thinking the Commanders were going to win this game than if Wentz would have been playing. I have that much confidence in Heinicke. I don't know if he's the long-term answer, but they should keep him around as the backup because he knows how to win. He's a winner. All right? He makes things happen. He's not an elite quarterback. I wouldn't even say he's a very good quarterback. But you know what? When times get tough, Taylor Heinicke's got that dog in him. I can't say that much about the Packers. Now, the other legendary, in fact, we call him the GOAT, quarterback that has a failing team is Tom Brady. The man gave up Giselle to go 3-4 and lose to the Panthers, who can't even tank right. Because, by the way, they traded CMC off to San Francisco, which can't be great for attendance, but you know what? They needed to go all in the rebuild. And then they won. Classic Panthers. Classic Panthers. Classic Panthers. Time to rebuild, and then you beat the Buccaneers. It's classic. PJ Walker, 16 for 22, 177 and 2 touchdowns. He showed up big time. Deontay Foreman filling in for the now San Francisco 49er running back CMC had 118. DJ Moore had 7 receptions, 69 yards, and got into the box. Mike Evans on paper had 9 receptions, 96 yards. You might be thinking, that was a good game for Mike Evans. Nope. Dropped a touchdown that would have gone a long way in dictating which way this game went. He did not have a great game. The Bucs overall had a couple drops, and Brady was furious. Like I said, that trade is not looking very fair, all right now. And I'm not talking about the CMC trade. I'm talking about Giselle to keep playing because the Bucs also suck. The Giants take out the Jaguars. We need to have a conversation about the New York Giants as much as it pains me. Now, they were on SportsCenter this morning talking about Daniel Jones, Rex Ryan, and Greenberg were talking about Daniel Jones as if he was some type of franchise quarterback, the next Peyton Manning. They were comparing him to Josh Allen. It was getting out of hand, all right? And don't get me wrong, DJ, first New York Giant quarterback to ever go for 200 yards passing, 100 yards rushing in a game. He had 309 yards total with 2 touchdowns. So a phenomenal game for DJ. He was brilliant. Saquon Barkley had 110 himself for him because he is him. No mistake about it. He's been fantastic this year. But, let's ease up. DJ had a great game, but let's ease up. The Giants, Brian DeBall, coach of the year right now. I don't even think there should really be much of a debate about it. The Giants are 6-1. I don't know how this has happened. I'm in disbelief too. But you know what? They are a good team. I don't know how with that roster, but they somehow, someway are a good team. So shout out to the ball, shout out to DJ, shout out to Saquon. Trevor Lawrence almost won this game though. They gave him way too much time, and if they'd have given him just a few more seconds, the Jaguars would have won this game because he drove right down that field, and Christian Kirk was 1 yard. 1 yard from we talking about this game a little bit more different. But good to see Lawrence back on track. Travis Etienne also had a career day, 114 and a touchdown for the sophomore who's really a rookie. But Giants beat the Jaguars. Very good game though. The Ravens take out the Browns. I'm still not convinced by the Ravens, but nonetheless, they only let Lamar throw the ball 16 times, but the Gus Bus had it going. He had 2 touchdowns. And Chubb, a model of consistency in Cleveland, but it's just not enough. It's just not enough at all. And the Ravens are able to escape with the win versus the Browns 23-20. The Jets take out the Broncos 16-9. The Broncos are a joke. And that is me being generous, I feel. They are just such a sad, sad franchise. Of course, Russell Wilson is out. They're not a sad franchise. They just celebrated the 25th anniversary, so you know what? That was wrong. Y'all currently a sad team, though. It's tragic. I didn't think y'all were going to be that good this year because everybody was like, oh, y'all might be Super Bowl contenders with Russ, y'all quarterback away. I didn't think y'all would be that good, but I didn't think y'all would be this bad. I did not see y'all being this bad, but nonetheless, the Jets are now 5-2. You probably would have thought these records would have been reversed heading into this game. Brett Rackman had a fill-in. He didn't do great. Melvin Gordon at running back didn't do great. Like I said, another great defensive performance. Sauce Gardner, problem child. Bryce Hall, unfortunately, probably tore his ACL in this game, however, for the Jets. So, even though they got the win, it came out of a sacrifice and not the sacrifice the Jets were looking forward to with their probably leading rookie of the year running back. The Texans take the L this week to the Raiders, 38-20. The Raiders get that second win, and the Texans get closer and closer to that number 1 overall pick. Davis Mills wasn't bad, 302 and 2 touchdowns, but Derek Carr was just a little bit better, 21 for 27, 241 and a touchdown. But this was the Josh Jacobs game. He could not be stopped. 143 and a hat trick of touchdowns for Josh Jacobs. And the Raiders get the win. Couldn't stop him on the ground. And probably the best game this season for Jacobs. One of the more complete games I think the Raiders have played this year. Not that we really have too much of a large volume of them because they only have 2 wins after this week. But, Raiders get the win. Looked a lot like the Raiders were supposed to be this year. The Seahawks took out the Chargers, who are just destined to underwhelm, seemingly. Geno Smith. You know what? Pete Carroll. That's what. Pete Carroll. Pete Carroll. Brian DeBall's coach of the year, but Pete Carroll needs some credit. Everybody, even I, rolled the Seahawks team out heading into the season, but here they stand 4-3 and contending for that division title. A lot of people thought this might be a top 5 pick type team, and here the Seahawks stand looking very, very good. They just beat the Chargers on the road, put up 37 points. Kenneth Walker III. I had the instinct and the insight to draft him in fantasy this year, but then I cut him after he wasn't doing anything behind Penny. And naturally, he goes off for 168 and 2 touchdowns and looking like he's the answer and looking like he was at Michigan State. So, just more fantasy misery for me, but I promise my teams have actually not been that bad. But Kenny Walker goes ballistic in this game. Marcus Goodwin gets in the box twice. Austin Eckler had 12 receptions, by the way. He's second in the league in receptions as a running back. But, 2 touchdowns and over 100 yards total for Eckler. But like I said, it wasn't enough. Pete Carroll has the Seahawks team looking different. The Chiefs take out the 49ers. Now the 49ers had the good this week, getting CMC. However, they had absolutely no answer for Pat Mahomes. All right, 423, 3 touchdowns for Pats. Juju Smith-Schuster looked like Juju Smith-Schuster of old. 7 receptions, 124, and a touchdown in his best performance as a Chief so far. MVS had 3 receptions and 111 himself. And, Chiefs were just dominant. Dominant this game. I think the 49ers may or may not have been playing without Bosa as well in this game. But it's going to be interesting to see how this team does and how they integrate CMC into this offense. And maybe that can turn their season around because that division is still wide open. Even at 3-4, that division is still winnable for the 49ers. But, the Chiefs made sure to let the San Francisco 49ers let them know there are levels to this. And to end off, ladies and gentlemen, in Sunday Night Football, we had a very miserable game between the Miami Dolphins and the Pittsburgh Steelers. Jason Sanders got pretty much just to, put the cherry on top with 2 seconds to go to make it 16-13. But that game was over far before that, even though George Pickens made it interesting. However, they weren't able to get the onside kick, and that was that. Kenny Pickett, I don't know what to think. 3 picks again this week. But he also looked good at some point. So Pickett, he's been up and down. We'll see if he can adjust. I will say, though, George Pickens has looked better and better every week. Tua was back this week for the Dolphins. But like I said, their season's finished. All right, it's finished. It's finished. I know he was he worked the rust off and they got the win this week. But maybe. You know what? I won't go all out on the gloom and doom. But it's going to take a lot. We'll see what happens. But, Dolphins get the win against the Steelers. So, congrats to Miami. Pittsburgh, you're not going to be great this year. Congrats on the top 10 pick, though. And with that said, ladies and gentlemen, that brings us to the Roundup, which starting off with racing, we're with Homestead Miami and NASCAR this week as we continue to close on the Final Four. Kyle Larson, after the incident last week with Bubba that got Bubba Wallace parked for the week, Larson comes back and he wins at Homestead Miami. I believe Chastain got second, which was huge in terms of him in the playoff. By the way, AJ Allmendinger has been having the greatest year of his career, looking like he might win the Xfinity Series. He was great this year. Well, yeah, he was great in this race. He's been solid this year on the main series. So, yeah, shout out to AJ. He gets third at Homestead Miami. But, Larson wins and gets back on track, even though he is not in the playoff. Got eliminated last round. So, just unfortunate. He just got eliminated. So, we'll see what happens next week. Final race before the cutoff, you believe. And that's going to be very, very interesting. Max wins at Coda, and Red Bull wins the Constructors title. George Russell and Sainz had a collision earlier. Russell has not been in F1 fans' greatest graces recently. However, he did apologize to Lewis Hamilton. Almost was Hamilton time, man. Almost was Hamilton time, but Max is just a different beast. He's a different breed. He's a different beast. Though for some record keeping, Max ties the single season win record. Looks like he's going to break that with 13. Also, Max and Lewis break the record for most 1-2 finishes in F1 history. But yeah, Max dominant. One of the greatest years I think any racer has ever had in any motorsport is the one he's having right now. We're watching history, that team and that car, and he is just better than everybody else, and it's not even really close. Leclerc did get third and takes control of second place from Checo. And to end off, the NBA is back, ladies and gentlemen. The NBA is back. Paulo Banchero looking like Rookie of the Year early on. He's been fantastic. Jalen Green has been a star, looking like he's the best of last year's rookie class so far with the Rockets. Dame and John Morant looking like the Dame and John Morant of old, especially Dame. Ja dropped 49 against the Rockets. I think that's the highest scoring output so far this season. Zion and the Pelicans looking deadly, but they did lose to Utah yesterday, and Zion got injured, so we'll see what happens with that. But otherwise, ladies and gentlemen, NBA is back. Should be fun. We'll talk about it as it goes, as you know. And with that said, ladies and gentlemen, we have reached the end of episode 116. I hope you guys enjoyed. We'll see you next week for episode 117. And of course, talking about her loss. But without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, Ocho, signing off.